Hi, we're looking at my top 20 songs of 2018. Anime is still going to be finished hopefully soon. It's taking longer than I thought. Hopefully very soon you will find out why. But for now we're going to do songs. Like last year, this is an exclusive list with my albums list, which is also coming soon, meaning that any of the albums on that list do not feature any of the songs on this list. I just did that so there would be like more diversity, more music that I can talk about. Um, I don't know. I mostly chose whether I would put something on the album list or the song list based on whether I mostly went to it like as an album or if I mostly went to certain tracks on that album and then maybe would listen to the rest of the album with it. It's not like the best system. It leads to some awkward situations where like perhaps really I liked an album better than some album that's on the list, but what I really especially liked about it was like certain songs on it. So I put it on this list instead. I don't know, whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not science. I'm not Pitchfork. I'm not even Fantano. I'm just some guy. And these are some songs that I liked last year. And I hope that you'll like them too. First one I want to talk about is White Cube by Yosutaka Nakata, who made the group Capsule back in the late 90s and is the main producer for Perfume, a really cool J-pop electro group. So this is his first kind of solo album, one where he collaborated with a ton of different musicians. He has like a ton of clout. He can get all sorts of singers and guest producers and stuff. And it's this amazing multi-genre festival of all sorts of cool boundary-pushing music, including this opening track, which is Future Bass. Future Bass is never ever going to die. As soon as you hear like the opening chords and that little like pause and the blip sound, and you're like, man, I can't wait for my grandkids to listen to Future Bass. I can't wait for my grandkids to listen to Future Bass, and for my grandkids to tell their grandkids, you know, some people said Future Bass was gonna die, but my grandpa told me Future Bass will never die. So yeah, great song, great song. A friend of mine was visiting once, and he was killing time while I was at work, and he cleaned a big chunk of my apartment while listening to this song on repeat. It was a great thing for him to do. What a great friend. And listening to this song, I can understand. It just gets you pumped, makes you feel capable of anything. Look at that girl's sweatshirt. It's so cute. Anyways, next I want to talk about this Juicy J song, Play With My Gun. It's from this mixtape that I really enjoyed the whole of. Most of the mixtape was produced by Suicide Boys, which are this rap duo from New Orleans that also do a lot of production. Their production is amazing. It's like haunting and interesting and very unique and fresh, and yet it like really taps into the spirit of like old Memphis hip hop, like that really kind of relentless dark energy that was so characteristic of it. So of course it makes sense for them to collaborate with Juicy J, one of the all-time Memphis legends. They really work well with him, I think, both in ways that are like very direct and it makes sense that it works well, but then also on tracks like this where the beat is really spacey, really distant. There's this kind of like crystalline piano sound that just emerges from place to place. And at first, the juxtaposition between this and Juicy J and also a Project Pat feature, another Memphis legend, the kind of contrast between those things, it feels like very jarring. But then you like realize more and more that they just perfectly accentuate things like the hook, which is this repeating no, it has swear words in it. I don't want to say it. If you listen to the song, probably you'll see what I mean. That there's like elements of it that are like relentless, elements of it that are like really energetic. Project Pat's flow especially had this like athleticism to it that I can't even really describe. It just sounds he's like out there swinging, and then behind that, this beat is just like perfectly just touching on these elements. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it's very, very beautiful. And it's really the word I would use for it. It's beautiful. It's majestic. But yeah, the whole mixtape is great, so check that out if you're a fan of Juicy J or Suicide Boys or Memphis hip hop. Or I'm going to say, if you like the manga series Doctor Stone, you also have to listen to it because that's the power of this channel. This next song is Watch by Travis Scott featuring Lil Uzi Vert and Kanye. Kind of 3 generations almost of hip hop. No, I don't know. Sort of. It depends on where you draw generational lines. This was the first sane thing that Kanye was involved with all year. It came out not too long after Lift Yourself, which of course we'll talk about later in this list. Haha. No, like it's. I thought it was going to be a single for Astroworlds, Travis Scott's upcoming album, but it wasn't. I actually ended up liking it more than any song on Astroworld. The beat is like really dense and complex and relentless, but then it shifts into these awesome, like awe-inspiring chords. And hearing Kanye rap over that, like Travis Scott and Lil Uzi verses, they're fine. They're what I expect from them. Lil Uzi Vert has like a nice hook, very catchy. He's like so good at that sort of thing. Just like little infectious sort of earworm hooks that are so simple that you can just instantly have them all stuck in your head. But Kanye's verse, when he's talking about being in the sunken place, talking about his hallway being too long. Was that? No, that's on a different song, sorry. Talking about kind of like these struggles he's having, struggles with opioid addiction and pharmacy's the real trap and stuff like that. And it really gave me hope. At that point, I kind of had written off Kanye. I thought Kanye was just sort of done. But there was a self-awareness and an assuredness in this verse. There was his sort of confident flow that he often does on guest verses where he'll kind of lose the thread of the actual beat and just start making these proclamations. But here the beat like really nicely accentuates it with the aforementioned huge chords. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I would have been with the upcoming Kanye albums if it weren't for this song. Um, we'll talk about those albums more in a bit, of course, but I wasn't that optimistic for them. I wasn't really even looking forward to them or anticipating them at all. I barely even thought they would come out until this song dropped. And then I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You can't ever sleep on Kanye. You can't just sleep on the kid like that. Anyways, Drake's Nice for What? I like this song, I guess, despite Drake. I'm not feeling too good about Drake right now, based on just a lot of stories that have come out of him about him lately, and I didn't think Scorpion was very good. I basically only liked this song and In My Feelings, and both of those I liked mostly because of the bounce element. They collaborated with Black and Mild, this legendary bounce producer whom I love. And they basically just gave him the power and the clout of the Drake production team, linking him up with like much more mainstream producers like Murder Beats and 40. And the result is that Bounce is taken to like a whole new level. I'm not gonna say it's like strictly better than the more stripped down, laser focused, booty shaking bounce music, which is where Black and Mild kind of got his start. But it's like in those mixtapes, in the Black and Mild mixtapes, my favorite moments were these ones where there was suddenly just this like radiance, where suddenly it wasn't just about the energy or the repetition or the beat, but all of those things were suddenly awash in this beautiful light when everything just kind of like steps back for a second. And actually, there was a moment in one of the mixtapes I listened to a lot where they sample Fugee's Fugi La, I'm pretty sure. The one where Lauryn Hill is going, no, that's Ready or Not. They sampled Ready or Not. So already there was this idea of combining Lauryn Hill and Bounce. So really, the Drake production team came up with nothing. No. The flip of the Lauryn Hill sample on this song is just absolutely legendary. And the way it segues into and out of the more distinct and traditional bounce parts is just so genius. And you know, I'll give Drake some credit. His lyrics are nice. It's a nice inspirational message. It's a really fun song. It's a fun, assuring everything is gonna be great song that's all about convincing yourself that like you're a good person. That you don't nobody deserves anything from you. Like nobody uh for like I don't know how to put it in a good word. In a good way, evidently. I don't know how to put it in a good way. Because it's sort of about like selfishness and it's sort of about putting yourself first, which is typically not what I'm into. But it's in the context very clearly of putting yourself before assholes, about denying other people's ability to kind of bully you into behaving a certain way or thinking about yourself in a certain way. That's really nice. That's a nice message. I don't know if we should be looking to Drake for this sort of assurance, but I'm sure a lot of people are, and so I'm glad that this is what he's saying to them. So yeah, how nice. This is sung by this, I think she's from Ottawa, this Japanese-Canadian girl, Millie, who makes truly bizarre, really amazing, multi-genre music with bizarre, sometimes very creepy, um, but always pretty cool and mysterious and compelling lyrics that kind of take place in this mythology that she builds up. It's sometimes hard to follow. um, she sings mostly in English in like a very almost like nightcore-y style. If that means anything to you, like very kind of sped up and hyper and almost with this sort of manic denpa energy. So like all of this. If you know anything about me, it's just like hit, 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 hit. The entire album was close to making my album list, but this track is a clear standout for me. Mostly because it's produced by World's End Girlfriend, who's just hands down one of my favorite musicians ever. I think everything he touches is just gold. And this song, which is fairly typical of the whole album, and its kind of bizarre apocalyptic lyrics that suggest a very uncertain moral message, but then World's End Girlfriend is able to twist the production to bring out that exact same energy. And he kind of goes back to the structure a lot of like, you know, kind of a flourish in the intro, and then your normal verses and stuff, your verses chorus structure, and then the end it just explodes into this symphony of noise and orchestral influences and just drawing from any electronica subgenre and taking the most kind of catchy, infectious moments and stitching them all together. It's one hell of a song. I don't really want to try to describe it too much when you can just scroll down and click the link and listen to it yourself. I don't know. I don't think it's for everyone. I think it's certainly a very polarizing genre of music. But you have to respect just the complexity and the perfectly tuned chaos of all of it. So yeah, fantastic. Great song. Shoutouts to Millie. I don't know how she ended up in this position. It's really inspirational. As far as I can tell, she just started making music and now she's collaborating with World's End Girlfriend and Dee Dee Mouse on another track. Like some absolute greats in this genre. Yeah, it was good. Next, I want to talk about Mitski's Nobody. This is again an album that easily probably could have made the album list, except that this one track was just so infectious, so catchy, that it kind of dominated my consideration of the album. This is like a loneliness banger, an extremely rare emotional state where everything in the lyrics is about loneliness, about having nobody, about seeking out human contact in any form, about oh, there's one line where she goes, I don't need someone to save me, I just want someone to kiss. Give me one good movie kiss and I'll be all right. And just this idea of a movie kiss, being so abstracted from real intimacy and real romance, just watching old films where it ends with a dramatic moment, the hero and the heroine finally embrace and kiss, like wanting something like that, wanting something with that sort of superficiality, and yet with that sense that it could finally complete you, that it could finally make you all right. It's so sad. It's so painfully sad on every meaning and message, and the music video too. Like, it's so surreal and yet hauntingly poignant at times when she's desperately just looking for any sort of meaningful connection with anyone. It's painful. And yet the song itself is like a bop. It's so catchy. It's so much fun. The number of times I've caught myself singing nobody, 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 no. It has this amazing A rhythm to it where it's almost like always kind of catching itself. Maybe that's like metaphorical. Maybe it's supposed to show you that even within the structure of the music, there's like absences and there's misconnections and there's falling out of sync with each other. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's it's like you can go a long time listening to the song, singing this song, thinking about this song, and then it it it, it doesn't feel sad at all. You don't even think about what you're singing, and then every once in a while it just hits you and it becomes devastatingly sad again. Especially if you listen to it in the context of the whole album, where it fits in quite nicely thematically with a lot of other things going on. And then it becomes a little more clear just how despairing a song this really is. Um, I hope Mitski's doing okay. She got Pitchfork Album of the Year, which is awesome. Good for her. Maybe she'll have a date now. I don't know. Alright, moving on. This is a single. Is it a single or is it just a track? It's a track, at least, on RP Boo's I'll Tell You What. Again, another album that I kind of wanted to put on my top 15 list. Maybe I should expand the album list to top 20 like I did the song list. I don't know. Anyways, it's a Footwork producer from Chicago. If you don't know Footwork, it's a pretty cool genre. It's all about intense, rhythmic, interference, I guess I would say, where you have like a complex drum line, a complex bass line, a complex kind of soloing instrument line. Typically, they all interconnect with each other in even more complex ways. Paradoxically, you really feel like you want to dance to it, that it gives you that sort of rhythmic dancing energy, and then at the same time, it's impossible to dance to unless perhaps you're playing in the groove and you have a step chart. And it's like, it's very, very interesting to listen to. It's very catchy in its own way and enjoyable. But what really sells me is moments on tracks like this. And it's sort of like I talked about with that the bounce thing too. Moments of like radiance. Moments where they kind of interject with one other element, which is usually much more melodic, much more disconnected from the sea of rhythm underneath it. And then suddenly you're like, oh man, this whole thing is just so beautiful. So the line that I hear a lot in reference to this album, which came from an interview I think Pitchfork did with him before the album came out, is that he's talking about how he has like all of these ideas for songs and he just wants to get them out before he dies. And it's with that sort of gravity that he talks about it. I don't know if that's the quote exactly, but it has that sort of gravity. And you listen to it, and you know, a lot of Footwork is kind of interesting, but like simple. Like you can't really figure out exactly why this would be someone's like life work or legacy necessarily. It's more just kind of like really cool, if you know what I mean. But again, it's when these moments hit, like when you get to this song in the album, you're just like awash, and you realize like, no, this is it. Like it is actually just so genius, these rhythms and these interactions between them. It is actually just so precise and creative, that of course it's the sort of thing that you think about as your legacy. Of course it's the sort of thing that you feel like you have to work your whole life to achieve. Um, yeah, I don't know. And here there's like this spoken sample. I think it's probably him. I don't know. It's someone saying, a person like me who can make these works. I think that's all he says. And the way it just kind of like cuts in on top of everything else, just like, god damn, like what a human. Like what a person. Someone actually made this. Someone actually composed this entire thing in whatever sequencing program and with whatever bajillion different hi-hat hits and drum hits and everything. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a stunning moment. And there's quite a few of them on the album. It sort of alternates between more kind of hardcore, relentless footwork, and then these pauses for reflection. It's a really great album, but this song especially. Whew. Okay. Yes, we're gonna be talking about 070 Shake quite a bit. Probably my artist of the year, 2018. Her EP Glitter, again, if I just kind of look at how much I liked those tracks on average, it would have easily made the top 20, the top 15 albums list. But there's like certain songs that just blew me away on another level that I want to talk about here. This one, with its very straightforward, kind of tells you the whole story title, almost so kind of banal that it screams first draft teenager poetry or something. And maybe if you looked at the lyrics on paper without hearing the song, you would have the impression of the entire song like that. But no, when you actually listen to it, there's an emotional quality in her voice. There's a desperation, a frightenedness, and yet a resolution underneath that is just so powerfully inspiring that I really can't even begin to describe it. No, okay, I guess I'll try. I was like, wait a minute, that means I just have to move on. Of course I'm going to try to describe it. I think what really gets me is the way she structures her vocals on this song, especially in the intro. It starts with like kind of all of these external statements. She's repeating the words that she imagines people are saying about her. And all of the lines kind of feel like truncated, like they're a little bit like shorter than the beat. And she almost feels like breathless as she sings them. And then there's this one line. I can't remember it. I was going to try to cite it, but it's like double the length of all the other lines. It feels like she just kind of busts through this pattern. And then I'm pretty sure at that point it starts switching into her like actual statements and her actual feelings. And it just has this like sort of avalanching quality where she's just piling on all of these facts about her life, up until the point where it just breaks. And here it's not that her vocals break through, but the whole song just kind of like, and she starts doing the hook, I guess, that has the title in it. And when she delivers that line, I laugh when I'm with friends, but I'm sad when I'm alone, and I'd be alone. It's like, like, how can you be dismissive of that? How can you write that off as overly simplistic? How can you write that off as angsty or anything, when it's the very reality of her life? Like, it's not that the statements are supposed to be counterbalanced. That it's like, well, you know, I laugh when I'm with friends, but on the other hand, I'm sad when I'm alone. It's just like one clear statement about her mental state that when she's out and socializing, she's laughing, but it's nothing. It's like a facade. It's like when she's actually alone with her thoughts and feelings, she's sad. Does this make any sense? I thought I was able to say something, and then I ended up just saying the title of the song again with like a couple added words. No, you'll just have to listen to it. That's all I can say. Is you'll just have to listen to it. All right, here's something completely different. After all these songs where it's like, yeah, the album is so great, and this is just like the stellar example of it. Here's a mixtape that I don't know. I thought it was all right, but this one song really stood out to me. This is just a hypnotic, super addictive banger. Every aspect of it, I think, is just completely on point. Especially Gunna's hook. For a long time, I kind of considered Gunna to be like a Young Thug clone, just like an inferior Young Thug. And for the most part, yeah, I don't know. He's just kind of another Young Thug. Um, by the way, there's a rapper named Young Thug. I'm not calling him a Young Thug. When I said that just now, it really felt like I was like, yeah, he's just some Young Thug. Like I'm some Fox News correspondent. No, 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 no. He's quite similar to the rapper Young Thug. But on this track, I started to kind of glean what's so unique about him. And it's somewhat similar to this, where it's all about showing restraint on your kind of flow. That you have quite a few lines that are like a little bit detached from the beat and a little bit like shorter from the beat. So it kind of gives them the feeling of truncation. Um, and then you like extend over it with one line. He does this in the hook for Travis Scott's Yosemite too, which is maybe a clearer example. That's a fantastic song too. I didn't get into that song though until I heard this song, and it somehow like unlocked for me the beauty of Gunna's hooks, and then suddenly I was super into Yosemite as well. Um, so it's like drip too hard, don't stand too close, you might fuck around and drown off this wave. And then the word wave, which breaks kind of like the meter of it, is extended to really highlight this meter breaking quality, and it like flows all the way into the next line, which goes back to the truncated quality. So it's like dun, 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 dun. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's that like that last part, the part where it just sort of like sublimates and flows past, where normally you would think you would have your kind of like final downbeat or whatever. It's like very, I don't know. And then like the verses on top of that have the exact same lightness, the exact same free flowing energy. Even if it isn't that pattern just sort of flows into it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I can describe it very well. Again, it's better just to listen to it. Great, great song. I went to a Melee tournament where I just listened to it on repeat the entire time I was playing sets. I think it helped. I think it helped. I think it played pretty good because of that. All right. The last song we'll talk about in this half of this list is another absolute banger. And another one that owes, I think, quite a bit to Young Thug. Lil Tracy and Lil Uzi Vert's remix of Lil Tracy's earlier song, Like a Farmer. There's been quite a wave of like country hip hop. I feel like you can attribute it all to when Young Thug said "Yeehaw" on "Family Don't Matter," which is possibly like the greatest shining moment of genre creation in recent memory. Just him saying "Yeehaw" that one time birthed this entire new genre. um, this one is like pretty on the nose. It isn't on the new as on the nose perhaps as something like what's that? I just got some new boots and a new tractor. What's that song called? I think it might be called New Boots, or maybe it's called On My Tractor. Anyways, that one is like a little too far. I still love it, but it's too obviously ironic. It's almost like aggressively ironic and sarcastic. Whereas like Lil Tracy and Lil Uzi Vert being kind of more on the emo rap side of hip hop, always being all about kind of like the sad qualities, lyrics that are just pouring your heart out. There's already sort of a match with country at its best, I think, which also sort of has this despairing tone. So that they're kind of starting from like a sincere emotional place, and then they just lather it with like extremely ironic aesthetics and lyrical content. So the hook for this legendary song is I got horses in my car just like a farmer. Yeehaw, finna pick up your daughter. You want beef, I'ma have to get it slaughtered. And I forget the next line. But it goes on like that. all just sorts of horse jokes and cow jokes and really basic barnyard stuff. Um, but the sentiment, as I say, hits sincerely, if you can believe it, that this song will actually make you feel some type of way. Well, at least it did for me. Your taste may vary. Anyways, that's the first half of my list. I will put links to these songs in the description, so check them out. Let me know, did you like them? Is there other songs you would recommend based on this? What is your song of the list? Song of the year? Blah, blah, blah. I've been misspeaking a lot. Just little minor things. Just saying the wrong word. Strange. Anyways, tune in tomorrow for the top 10. Yay.